Hey, what's going on? My name's David Fear. I'm the film critic for Rolling Stone. Jesus Christ, this movie! Oh my God, I feel so happy and lucky to be here and talk to some of the people that made this thing. Let's get on stage. Please help me welcome Regina Hall. Directly, Leonardo. Writer-director Paul Thomas. First things first, a hearty congratulations of all of you for this movie. This is something truly, genuinely special. So, congratulations. Thank you. Now, Paul, I know there have been a number of points of origin for this, but I'm just curious, was there something in particular that after you had done your previous film, The First Pizza, you started thinking, okay, revolutionaries, a father-daughter story, secret societies, a car chase, this is going to be my next movie?
It wasn't quite like that. It was more that I've had this for a long time, longer than I should care to admit it, because it's a little embarrassing how long I was writing there for. I thought about making this movie out of Thin Thread, talked to Leo then, but couldn't quite find a Willa, and then I got Recessive Burgers Pizza because of all the kids I knew at that time were the right age to make that movie. And then I kind of thought, maybe going back to this Adam Summer, the producer and assistant director, who you know,
yeah.
We all know, said, right, none is enough, it's time to take this movie. And so called Leo, and I got lucky enough to find Chase, and to find Teyana, Regina, these for everybody here. So, and I really feel quite good about how it turned out. Wait and work, everything to come together.
We had a new mic on him.
You want to use my mic?
I use this battle on anyway.
The story so far.
You know, it's just...
if your mic's not cutting out, you feel free to use this one.
Okay, I'll try to talk words of mine.
Now, I know you and Leonardo have been like kind of circling each other about doing a potential project for a long time, and you'd said that, you know, when Adam had said like it's time you guys work together, you started thinking about this. Was there something about Bob that made you think, okay, this is the role, like this is the thing that's we're gonna be working on this together?
Well, I mean, more to the point of the question is who doesn't take a Leo? Why do we take a Leo is more the question.
And it had been, I guess, maybe we looked at each other and we said it was time when maybe he aged right into the role. He needed to be able to understand her right role. So that's the kind of thing that happened. Just, you know, thankful that we, you know, collaborate on this and continue.
Now, Leo, I want to hear about the early discussions that you and Paul had about who this guy was, but I'm also curious, if there was a sort of number system about how stoned this character was going to be in any given scene in the second half. So if you're like, right, well, it's a parent-teacher conference on a Tuesday afternoon, probably about a 3. But then Friday night watching Battle of Algiers, that's like an 8.
Yeah, well, when I heard that Teyana song, Dirty Work, I was like, well, that's Bob right there. That's a character living from the carnage his revolutionary ex-girlfriend has put him in this predicament. But I think it was, what's great about Paul is it's not just, there's so many layers to the filmmaking process, and a huge layer of that, I think, was the locations and being able to immerse yourself in these communities, these environments where the culture there kind of infuses what the characters. And I went up to Northern California, Eureka. I was like, oh, there's a whole community of people like Bob here. They're like escaping society. They're what they call hitnecks, or have hippies, have rednecks that are like, don't tread on me, but also I'm very woke. Wow, okay, get it. And then the whole idea of raising a daughter now. The idea of him, what else is he going to be doing except avoiding people, watching TVs, and smoking pot at home? All their no choice. But I just love this one singular idea that he had, that he can't remember the password. And what you think is a normal espionage thriller, and it's going to utilize all his tactics from the past, he just consistently fails all the way over. It was that one singular idea that kind of made Bob pop great.
I don't know whether it makes me optimistic or pessimistic to know that even an underground railroad has like shitty customer service reps.
All that detail too. And by the way, let's give it up for the Christmas Adventurers Club.
Christmas adventurer amongst us. It's Tony Baldwin. Where is he? There. New Master's here too.
First off, Chase. I think I speak for a lot of people here when it seems surprising to think that you don't have years of this under your belt already when you watch this performance, and how you kind of find space on the screen, and how you got thrown in the deep end with a lot of people who've been doing this for a while, and you completely hold your own. I want to talk about the first meeting you had with Paul, the discussion you had, and if you and Leo wouldn't mind talking about how you sort of developed the father-daughter rapport, because that's really the backbone of this movie. For everything else that's going on, it's really about these two characters and their bond, I think.
Yeah, the first time I met Paul was about a month after I sent him my first self-tape. And I was filming my first job, a TV show, and I got a call from the casting director, Cassandra, asking me to come in because Paul wanted to meet me. Before she hung up, she was like, also, it's a chemistry with Leonardo DiCaprio and Regina Hall, and then hung the phone. And no pressure. And then going into that first chemistry read, I was a bit nervous, a bit anxious, but I was immediately welcomed with warmth from Paul, from Leo, and Regina. And I think coming into something that could be as daunting as meeting them with such kindness and such love and just support, regardless of anything, I think that was the biggest help, and I was super grateful to them for that.
And the Valak
I think a lot of the characters that we were solidified from these workshops, these chemistry readers. We knew that without getting, Chase, Willa's character, the heart, soul, evil, just sort of fall apart. Thankful to about it, but it was a long process. Hall really put a lot of thought into it. We had these chemistry reads, do karate lessons, and we would talk about our character for months and months and months. And that's when this whole idea of this generational gap of a father not knowing how to relate to a daughter, she said, well, of course I'm going to be on the phone. I don't care if my father is a parent. And that concept wove its way into the movie, and we really got to sort of kick the tires of who these people were before we even arrived on the street. I thought that was very helpful to both of us. And I love the fact that they're just arguing right away, It's not this happy villagers moment where you get the log cat and everyone's getting along. It's a father screaming at his daughter, and the girl telling him that absolutely gotcha and saying is, felt real to me.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be a parent to appreciate those scenes or appreciate how protective Bob is of Willa. I have given to understand, and correct me if I get this wrong, that whole thing that he whispers into the kid's ear is based on a real anecdote you heard about one of your actors?
A young man came to Sean Penn's house to see about taking his daughter on a date. And his daughter went upstairs to get ready. And while the young gentleman was sitting with Sean Penn, Sean said, "How you doing?" I said, "I'm all right." Listen, just know that whatever you do to her, I'm going to do to you. Things like that for the best try. I remember. All day closing. I don't know what I was
thinking. Speaking of Mr. Penn, Jesus Christ, Stephen Lockjaw, this is such an incredible. Can we look at anything you would love to share about how you came up with this particular interpretation of him in terms of the walk, in terms of the voice, in terms of just the posture? I'm wondering if he's based on anybody in particular, if you were, what references you were pulling from, anything you would care to share about your process and not seem like I'm asking your daughter out for a...
Well, first of all, punchline to that is that it turned out that that young kid was the 3-time All-State mixed martial arts genius champion. He probably might have done well for me. And the thing I say about this movie, and it's kind of the thing that I and I think a lot of actors really hunger for, even before we can articulate it, is that you read something and you kind of hear the music of what the writer has written. And that music is going to affect the way you curl your toes and the way you don't hydrate your elbows and everything. And it isn't really that complicated process, but with the script being so enjoyable to read, on so many levels. I mean, I think with scene, I'm thinking about it now that, talking to a crowd that's seen the film, but sort of says everything that you have to know about the film, is with Leo and the teacher. Because in that is kind of everything else, and is where the to me, the big payoff comes from. So what's in support of that is part of the job of everything else. And the instructions felt like they were very evident, and then I got the time with Paul to just go page by page and say, well, here's how I heard it, here's how it made my elbows feel, and he would go, and intermittently, Leo joked about this, because, when there had to be corrections, he'd say, I would pretend you didn't say that. And go on to the next bit and kind of find it, and then commit to it, and then throw yourself in his hands in terms of the various levels. And so it was a process that way. It was also a process that I think, despite this being a larger scale than a lot of Paul's earlier movies, he kept the footprint very small. So this wasn't one of those things where everybody had, chairs with their names were in gold on them and big trailers. It was very, like, we're here to work every day, which I think was very helpful because it kept us more alert. And staying on your feet's a good thing.
I love the dynamic between your character and Perfidia. There's a real game recognizes game thing going on there, where the two of the key line to me for that is that your mom was a warrior, and you could tell how much he loved that, how he really felt like, oh, this is somebody who I'm on equal footing, opposite sides of the fight but equal footing, and the way that you guys play that. I mean, let's be honest, the word iconic gets thrown around a lot these days, and I feel like the shot of Perfidia with a big pregnant belly just rocking a machine gun in that field, that's going to be like in dorm room poster, on dorm room level posters. It's interesting, as you've been talking about this movie, as the process kind of started up, I've heard you say that, like, well, she's a character who's constantly in survivor mode. And so I'm just curious, as an actor, how do you construct a character when that's the foundation? Like, when those are all the choices that you're making based on that. How are you putting this version, this interpretation of Perfidia together?
It's a great question. I think for me, I applied what was happening in real life to Perfidia. I knew how it felt to be in survival. I've been there before. I wasn't from a large or Benicio war and city begans of this
That is unique to me.
Phineas is such a girl. She's such a girl. My girl was complicated. Was she unapologetically herself? And I think that's what I relate to. Just being unapologetically myself and, understanding what it feels like to be in survivor mode. But none of it I felt like was as important that, PTA hit on was postpartum depression. I had to space. And, seeing her deal with postpartum, I knew what that felt like. I had handled certain things the way she ended, but a mother going through postpartum is another going through postpartum, and you can't really control with, how they came, like what the results are, So I was able to see a lot of myself in the video, whether her path went a different direction in mine or not. It was able to sympathize with her. I think that's why, even though the fear has, we're shaping her, we all empathize, for her, and we all have this soft spot for her because she's just so raw and she's so human. And I think it's very rich that if you see that, built today, at all.
Yeah, this is a film that's brimming with humanity. With all the characters too. Even the Christmas Adventurers Club. There's at least a glimpse of humanity amongst those people, even as they're saying "Hail, Saint Nick." Hail, Saint Nick. Where'd you come with that?
Oh, shit. Who doesn't like Christmas?
Good answer. Benicio, I've given to understand that you kind of came into the production as the train was already kind of rolling on the tracks. And that a lot of people had said, like, oh, it was great. It was his breath of fresh air because he came in with all these ideas. You had also said, and correct me if I get this wrong, that you're like, the one thing I'm going to ask you to watch out for is that I don't try to match Leo's energy. So that there's a real sense of like an acid and an alkaline hitting that pH 7 in the middle. Can you talk a little bit about using that as the base for the performance and the interaction between your two characters? Because he's the rock solid foundation with this guy really is breathing out.
Well, I do know that the purpose of my character is to take Leo's character from point D to point F. And, how do you deal with that? I knew the energy was coming in from Leo, and I just had to react. Acting is acting and reacting. So I played the other side of the coin. And, one of the things that Paul did when we were talking about the character, he sent this, he said, you're going to play a karate instructor, and then he sent me a picture. It was a photograph of a poster. It was a tiger dressed in a judo kimono. And I think I understood that, there's a strength in there. And I'm just going to hang in there and let everything around collapse if it has to, but I'm going to be the support, So that's what I did, I
guess. That's you driving with the star of Titanic hanging out the car window, right? It's actually happening?
It is happening, and I was focused.
You had said, like, every band needs a bass player, and someone's got to hold it down while everybody else is, like, doing what they're doing. And your bass player is Regina Hall. I absolutely love how you understand how to play the calm in the middle of the storm. And she's such a very solid stealth character throughout the film because she doesn't say much, but she's always seems to be there, and she always seems to be doing something. She's not a passive character, she's an active character. But I'm wondering, as an actor, when you've got to play something in that kind of less is more mode, how are you going about that so that you're still, making an impact when you're on screen?
Well, Paul honestly was so great. What was wonderful, we had a lot of time to talk about Deandra. And he's great at keeping you focused. I mean, no, that's not Deandra. So I was very clear on what Deandra's mission was from Paul. I think the first time he told me about the movie, he said what the story was, and he said Deandra's job is to take that baby, that girl that she does see in the beginning of the film as this beautiful baby who's now 16 and make sure that she is okay. And so whatever that required, I think for Deandra, she was just emotional about it. I mean, the real baby that we had was so cute. And loved Paul. She didn't love me, but she did love Paul. She'd cry, and then when Paul held her, she'd be quiet. It was like, she's already done the part with the one. But what was great was to see that baby, and honestly, to Chase. I mean, you look at that face, and the truth is, you want to do whatever you can. So I think that just knowing that and having Paul guide that helped me be able to find the stillness in the actor and the shirt.
I'm gonna pair a quote back to you because filmmakers love it when you paired a quote back to them. You talked about your love of car chases, movie car chases, but you said, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, the chase doesn't matter if people don't give a fuck about who's in the car. And we're already invested in these characters by the time you get to that second chase scene, the climactic chase scene. But I imagine you still have to all right, I want to make this kinetic, I want to make this visceral, I want to make people feel like this is a real chase scene and that's going to try and at least be somewhat equal to the many great chase scenes that have been in movies over the years, and yet you still have to kind of retain the humanity of the situation because it really is still a father chasing after his daughter. So as you're putting this together and filming it on these hills and valleys in Eureka, you filmed in Eureka, right?
No. Well, we started the woods in Eureka. That we moved from the northernmost tip of California to the southernmost tip.
Oh, okay.
And those hills are over near Arizona border. Did you finish your question, or should I despair?
No, finish my question. So keeping those two things in mind, I want to hear about putting that, coordinating that scene, putting it together. So that's it's exciting, but also is contributing to the story and not just a chase scene for a chase scene's sake.
Well, to admit something, we knew we had to get our bumbling hero to get to our real hero, right? To get his love. And we were on the road, and we had a car chase, and with the pursuit of a third person, and we helped with Teyana to that. And it was just to the left of the movie gods that we started, when we were scouting, we found these rolling hills. And you put your phone on the dash of the car, you realize just how scary that becomes. For that point of view, as you're driving 85 miles an hour, you can't see what goes to that hill, nor can you see what's behind you from time to time. So this kind of revealed itself to us in a location scout, and came up with that idea. So that's a really exciting idea. What's next? Coming up with a situation for Willa to now finally take, agency of the situation as to turn the cable to be the aggressor, get the high run. This became very exciting to us. But what's the next piece? Who kills who? The next piece is, who kills who in half? Somebody's got to shoot somebody else, and somebody's got to get out of there. And through the kind of scouting and going out and rehearsing, we really discovered that the biggest moment was Chase being put into a position to have to pay for the sins of her mom and her dad, and it kills somebody. And then the next thing that kind of came to us was, well, if I'm her, my biggest question is, who the hell are you? And these kind of things came out through scouting and being out there and practicing and playing with them and discovering them. And then the big question is, or the big answer to the question of who are you is, I'm your dad, And that kind of gave us, so it's embarrassing to admit that if you got on the road to make this film, we didn't really have that in place, but we were at a place where we knew these people well, we filmed enough, and we knew something had to happen. And we were lucky enough to find what I think was a terrific solution to the whole.
Yeah, he stayed receptive enough to know that, okay, we now have our ending. This is great. This has been dropped into our laps by the gods, like you said.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk about playing that climactic moment, that I'm your dad moment? The two of you.
Yeah, doing that scene, we had shot that multiple times almost over multiple different days, and I think once we actually found the version that we wanted to do, it just honestly felt like it just locked in, and we all settled into it, and we were like, okay, this feels like the actual correct way in a sense to finish the story or finish this part of their story. And yeah, I guess that's all that I know.
Paul is very malleable. He's not only this sequence, but when Benicio came on set, it's like you went on a Cheech on the road trip. Benicio came in with ideas of who Sensei Carlos was, and Mulder, that's the right idea. And that was the creativity and the freedom to go right up in the point, these dramatic moments when being able to have a lot of the movie behind you was really liberating, because up until the very day we were shooting, I didn't know how this movie really used to end. You haven't been assessing 40 different ideas, really. And as I remember Paul just sort of zooming and said, no, the trauma of your life has to be passed on to the next generation. She saw it face, it's out to the new generations, and it was like, okay, that's it, that's the ending. And moving that in a beautiful way is kind of what the film is about in a lot of ways. And so the beauty of the end line, ending in with the film is when we're lying, be careful, I won't, but a lot of it is the flexibility that he has and the unknown right up at those very key points.
I just got two last questions before we wrap this up, but they're group questions. For the actors, what's it like being directed by Paul Thomas Anderson? What's he like on set? What's that experience like? Cool. Yeah,
Oh my God. I have some stories to tell. No, honestly, because maybe being directed by Paul is a master chef class, and you get to see this master chef in his kitchen, and he's put on your coat and your hat and your ear, and you just watch him be a goat and he a master at what he do. His gentle leadership, how he mentors us, how he guides us, how he leads us is just so admirable. He's so dope that it make you want to go hard for him. And I don't see wondering how he is. Like, he's getting all his work, he's in the battlefield with you. You get what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I'm in the battlefield, and I look back and I see like my leader that's in there really getting deep, want to go hard. That's his leadership to me. And understanding that, the goal is to stand better there. Eddie going to show up for him, Eddie going to show up for your peers, your cast members, and it's just an honor to be able to share safe space with him, to be able to share same brothers with him, and like most importantly for me, I'm like, oh my God, PCA know I exist, y'all. You know I exist. And I know the video was very what the character to him, so it means a lot to be, it acknowledged, it's about conversation and, building of videos layers, so I really appreciate just who gets an hour to say that cook that Chef Teyana is a record guy, Chef Teyana today.
this movie is really funny and tense and profound, and there's a lot going on here. There is no one genre that you could try and categorize or tie this thing down to. And it's hitting theaters at a really weird cultural moment, I think. The film's not tied to any particular age or era, and it's not tied to any particular revolution, but it does seem to be oddly tapping into something that feels like it's kind of swirling all around us right now. So I'm just curious from everybody on this panel here, what it feels like to put this particular movie out that suggests that love and community is a real act of resistance at this particular moment in time.
I don't know, really, because we're so, to be honest, so overwhelmed with joy in the response that's coming to us. The 10 days or so that we've been screening it and talked to audiences, and it feels like we are in back what we have put into it, which is a tremendous feeling. And that makes it very globalized feeling. To feel the energy of this theater, to feel the energy we went to Mexico City, we went to London. That's all you can kind of hold in your hand or get that feeling in your body. And that, I speak for all of us. I say it's a thrill, and it's amazing feeling, fucking amazing. And how it leaves you walking on air and it full of hope. And to make an optimistic movie feels quite good. I suppose. I feel optimistic. I am never getting a better for optimistic.
No shit. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you.